Call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for November 18th, 2024 to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Heyman?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Mr. McCann's excused.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout?
Here.
Mrs. Westfall?
Here.
6 members of council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. We have a couple of regulars in the house. Glad to see you. Please join us for our Pledge of Allegiance. This meeting led by Ms. Dow.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda, I do have a couple items I want to add on there. As agenda item 15, a brief sister city update of our representation up at Woodstock Santa Claus Parade. And then for whatever turns out to be the final agenda item, an executive session to discuss property issues. Mr. Fry.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Members of City Council. Hearing none. Mr. Sanford.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schreier.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Or Ms. Bryant.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as I amended, and that executive session will be item 16?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and tonight's agenda is approved. Agenda item 4 is approval of our council meeting minutes from our last meeting on November the 4th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the meeting minutes from the council meeting of November 4th, 2024 as submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the November 4th meeting minutes as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and those meeting minutes are approved. We're up to agenda item 5. This is proposed ordinance 123, 2024. It was tabled from our meeting back on the 4th of November. It has to do with towing services. Mr. Hanum, we're going to take some time to read this and examine it.
Yeah, my question is, I'm fine with it as it is. My question is, should we have in section 77.1.11 a 3% increase in a 3% annual increase in the fees? Should we add that?
Chief, any comments on that?
And 7711.11,
That's the tow and storage fees.
It says total shall be no more than $129.
those are fees that are set through PUCO, the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, for the tow companies that they can't charge more than. So what we did is just follow their recommendations.
Should we incorporate?
Reference it to that then?
Reference that in the legislation so that we don't get in the situation where it's 7 years before we update those fees, because I don't normally look at this section of the code.
Okay. And what was it referenced to, Chief?
The Public Utilities Commission of
PUCO
Ohio.
amounts. Okay, so we will amend it, both this whole section, tow fees, to reference them to PUCO standard amounts. Why don't we have a motion first for that amendment?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to add that reference to the PUCO amounts in section 771.11. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And are you ready? Anything else, Mr. Haney?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 123, 2024, and read by title only. Amending the codified ordinances 1979 as amended by adding chapter 771 towing services. I move for passage of ordinance number 123, 2024 as amended, correct? And asking for an to declare this an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of amended ordinance number 123, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and amended ordinance 123, 2024 is enacted. Thank you. Law Director will prepare that amendment to it. And we'll have that straightened out. Up to agenda item 6. This is the second reading of the 2025 budget. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for members of council. I spoke with the mayor, and typically, in the past, we've done these, and passed this on second reading. Are there concerns from members of council in that regard?
No.
Okay. Then I'll introduce ordinance number 124 for second, 2024 for second reading, and read by title only, to make appropriations for current expenditures and other expenditures of the city of Sylvania, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2025.
Question, are you introducing it for passage or just for second reading?
For passage.
For passage, okay.
For passage. Let me start over again. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 124, 2024 for passage, to make appropriations for current expenditures and other expenditures for the city of Sylvania, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2025. I move for passage of ordinance number 124, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 124, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 124, 2024 is enacted. You're enacting it on the second reading. We'll give our finance department an opportunity to begin loading the budget into the computer prior to the end of the year.
Yes,
Any further comment on that, Ms.
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
This is a head start.
I can tell you that I discussed this with Mr. Schroyer this afternoon. He had received no questions from members of council or from the public about the budget. And, you know, we have a first reading, so it's out in the public realm if people want to comment on it, and no one did. So thank you very much. The budget is approved. Agenda item 7 is changing ordinance 941, that's the solid waste recycling portion of the budget. Mr. Shaw, this is at your request.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a couple of unique situations. If you've ever looked at maps of our municipal boundaries and our sewer boundaries and our water boundaries, they're not one and the same. And it makes it difficult at times to do some management out of some various accounts that we have for water, sanitary sewer, as well as refuse and recycling. We came upon this instance in the 941 code where we actually lack the proper procedure and authority on what to do for non-payment specific to 941 accounts only. You may ask, well, where would that apply in the city? Sylvan Lakes is a good example of that. That's west of King, north of Sylvania Avenue. Those are City of Toledo water customers. We get back billed the sanitary portion of that comes back, but those folks that are over there are refuse only. And in that particular instance, we do have a case right now ongoing of a non-payment of the refuse and recycling bill for a couple years now. So we would like to amend 941 to have that authority that matches exactly what our sanitary sewer code and what our water code says. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, my only question is, I think it's great that we have that authority. What I don't like is in 941.22A, the last phrase, and such delinquent refuse accounts are subject to termination of the director. I'm perfectly happy to give you authority to leave these properties, but I don't want to not pick up garbage.
Sure.
I think that's a bad idea. I think we ought to, so I would move to strike the language, and such delinquent refuse accounts are subject to termination of the director. We'll lien them, but we're gonna pick up the garbage because it doesn't just affect the non-payee, it affects neighbors. And it's important we pick up the garbage.
That's just so that you point out, that's exact language in the other ones, but I do
I'm sure
understand
it is.
the point is
Like I
well
said, I
taken.
don't read
Right.
these every day, but strike the comma, and then everything, leave the period.
Okay, that's on the back side of Exhibit B, or it is Exhibit B. Comments from council?
Doug made a motion.
We have a second of the amendment?
Well, I have a question in that
Okay.
regard. So if that then makes it inconsistent with the other ordinances, do we need to look to amend those in future?
That's a little
Shutting
different
off
because it's
water
water and sewer.
Is
This is
different.
private, Yeah.
We have shut off people's water.
Right, we shut off people's water, and
Gotcha.
that's,
Yeah,
that impacts only the person that's not paying the bill. You don't pick up garbage and it starts piling up on the street. That affects our neighbors.
It's a very good distinction, appreciate that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to make that amendment to the ordinance. Oh, there's the second. Any further questions?
I have another question. So what is the consequence now if we delete that section to the person who's not paying?
This gives us the,
10% that shall be charged on each and every bill for the refuse if not paid within 20 days. But what if they don't do that then?
And then there's a lien. We
Oh.
can lien the property, which is much more powerful than paying.
Move away, it still goes with the property.
Right.
It'll have to be cleared at the transfer.
And at $15 a month, there aren't many homes in Sylvania that we're not gonna collect.
this is the first that's come up in my 12 years, so,
I don't ever
it doesn't
remember
happen
having
much.
refuse collection fees.
Yep.
Water turn off, we do that occasionally.
This particular instance, this person knows what they're doing, so.
All right, there's a motion and a second to make this amendment to the ordinance 126. All in favor of the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now,
Thank you.
Mr. McCann is not here. Mr. Hanson, will you read this as an amended for approval?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 126-2024 as amended, amending chapter 941 solid waste recycling collection of the Sylvania Codified Ordinances 1979 as amended by amending section 941.021 fees for collection and disposal for residential buildings, and by adding section 941.022 delinquent accounts. Move for passage of the amended ordinance number 126-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of amended ordinance number 126, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and amended ordinance 126, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure.
Thank you.
We are now up to agenda item 8. This has to do with the creation of a new tax incremental financing area. Mr. Sanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick history on this, and I sent a memo out on this, but the former church location, 4827 Holland, Sylvania, that the city had purchased, and when we had been contacted and worked with Chris Nixon with buying the property to put his new bakery there, our former service director, Kevin Aller, had the idea that we should look into a TIF. I did. I agreed with that with him. So we reached out to Glenn Grisdale, who helped us with our TIF that we have established in our downtown. For a while, we were wondering, and with Mr. Shaw looking at, well, do we have a larger TIF area to include another intersection? We decided to step back from that. Joe, I think, was looking at Brent in Holland, Sylvania, but under Glenn's advice to make sure we capture the new value that's going to be with that bakery added to the to that site at 4827 Holland, Sylvania, which if you haven't been by, You'd have to, it's really
It's all
coming,
framed up, it's got a standing metal roof on it, it's looking pretty good.
and the sides, and the mayor had a lot to do with that, to give him some good advice on how to structure that. But anyway, to capture that, Glenn advised us to establish this TIF, so that's what we're bringing tonight and asking for your support in doing that. There's 9 properties involved, they're attached, Leslie attached them to the ordinance. Tax projection is also included, and we did meet with the school and they're supporting of the TIF.
And the funds need to be put into a capital improvement in that area, which will be the intersection of Haroon and South Main. Is that correct? No? No, okay. And it looks like it'll create a fund of $237,000 to do that, which we will leverage.
Yes. That was the whole point, I think, when Kevin brought it up, and I'm in agreement, and I think we should move this forward.
Okay, we do have an ordinance to put this in place, if there's no further questions. We have ordinance 127, 2024. Mr. Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 127, 2024, and read by title only. Declaring the improvement to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose and exemption from taxation, and providing for the collection and deposit of service payments into the tax increment equivalent fund, and specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcels. I move for passage of ordinance number 127, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second. It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 127, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 127, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. I have looked at the preliminary layout plans for those intersection improvements. I discussed them with the service director, and we made some changes to them in the way that it was affecting the new bakery that's being built there. And the bakery will be using the existing parking lot from the church for a while until this is all put in place, but it looks like it's pretty good. And we also took a look at the bakery's expansion plans, because the bakery owner is not, he believes he's going to be expanding that pretty soon as his contracts expand. It looks like the city's made a good choice in keeping him in town. He's already making this investment in the area. So, looking good. If you haven't seen it, take a look.
It's good we got one right.
He's a successful entrepreneur. There's just no way around it. And he was very receptive. We had some ideas for him on how to make the building look a little better than just a pole barn. And it does look better already. I'm pleased. All right, we're up to agenda item 9. We have some good news on the downtown transportation improvements, or the cityscape improvements downtown. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Largest project we will advertise and sell this year, of course, our downtown transportation project, phase 1. We had 3 bids that we accepted. Helms and Sons, Gaddis Paving, and Ebony Construction. The numbers are listed in the ordinance there. Very good numbers, considering they are a little above our engineer's estimate by about 4%, but when you have a $4 million plus job and all numbers are within $60,000 of each other, I think that's a pretty fair.
That's very tight bidding. That indicates a good set of bidding documents without too many loose ends or questions.
So we're pleased with the way it came out, although it's a little above estimate. But we would like to recommend Helms and Sons for this work. They've obviously done a fair amount of work for us since 2008. I've listed a few of the projects that are there in your letter. They also were recently awarded the Haroon Flower and Ravine Traffic Signal Project. So this is a nice project for them to spend a lot of time on downtown, and then if something happens, they can float over and do traffic signal work. It's a really good marry of the 2 projects, having the same contractor do such significant work for us. So we're excited about that. We have a couple of different funding accounts that are listed there. I won't go through all the numbers, but we're using sanitary sewer, obviously, for that, water. The COVID funds, which was the big one to get encumbered this year, as a reminder for those funds, as long as they are encumbered by December 31st, 2024, that's good. So this award allows us to encumber the full amount of those funds. So job accomplished with that. So it looks like the total capital improvement account for the project is a little under $2 million at 1.9. As a reminder, we did also get OPWC grant funding to help assist us with that piece of it as well. Just under $600,000 to help us with that. So the net is about a $1.4 million capital improvement for us. So I'd be happy to answer any questions from Council or the Mayor.
Mr. Shaw brought up the intersection over in front of Flower Hospital. If you've driven by, there are stakes all over the place over there. It is not starting construction this fall, but Mr. Shaw tells me that's so they could check the locations of the new traffic signal poles to make sure there are no utilities in the way. So if you get questions from people, what's going on? That's what's going on. It will be happening next year, and it has been awarded to Helms already. Any issues with Flower Hospital and realigning there?
They're ready to go. We've been coordinating with them for a few years now. Biggest next step will be the movement of their sign from the existing entrance to the proposed. Once that flips, they have some very specific requirements on emergency signing for hospital entrances, so that coordination needs to happen within a couple of days. So we've been working really hard at how that's gonna work and how that's all gonna be
I
coordinated.
was on that campus earlier today, and with all the stakes there, I can now envision that new cut across that's gonna happen from the end of Ravine over to the main intersection going onto campus, just south and west of the existing pond that's there. Okay, we got us off track. I got us off track. We're back to the downtown. That's the main event, no doubt about it. We're gonna have another project come in sometime next year for the relocation of the utilities in the north block. And then later in the year, we'll have another bid for the streetscape improvements in the north block. So there's 2 more bids to go on this one, but we're on track for this one with a known contractor and pretty good bids. Okay. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 128, 2024. I will introduce by title only. Accepting the bid of Helms & Sons Excavating, Inc. and awarding the contract for the Downtown Transportation Improvements Phase 1 project to same. Authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $4,401,234. Appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 128, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 128, 2024 is enacted. My thanks to Mr. Shaw and his office and our consultants and all of you. This has been a long path to get to this with all the public meetings and the public input. The Community Improvement Corporation is funding a $10,000 program through the Chamber of Commerce to help during the construction season, to put up signs and post publicly that the stores are all open and we're gonna maintain traffic northbound, but there will be hiccups along the way, I'm sure. So it's off to a good start, and I'm looking forward to a good project. Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also
Ms.
like to
Dodd.
add a thank you in addition for that. We're doing a $4.4 million project in such a pivotal part of our city, and that we are paying less than $1.4 million. And I know it's just the first part of a 2-part project, but thank you once again for continuing the ability to get these grants and work with these different fundings to be able to find these opportunities for our city.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to agenda item 10. We have proposed resolution 15, 2024, for the city of Sylvania to participate with the Ohio Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial Celebration in 2026. Who can speak to this? I can. I know we got a request. It came back through Marcus. The state of Ohio is asking our Heritage Museum, I believe, to participate with them in this celebration.
Sylvania Arts and also Heritage.
Okay.
I'm happy to read it if you would like, as the representative on the Heritage Sylvania's board, but
That'd be
Marcus,
great.
you're welcome to if you would.
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you were looking more for an explanation at this point, and I don't have a lot of knowledge. It was that there's one community entity that is eligible to apply for a grant In order for them to even apply for the grant, the first step would be passing this ordinance, just to allow for that to happen.
And we certainly want to participate with that here in Sylvania. I know Mr. Fry and I, and perhaps Mrs. Westfall, can remember the bicentennial. That was a big event back in 1976.
Well, Mr. Hanem had forwarded an email about an event that the governor was hoping to spearhead next year, I believe it is. And he had forwarded it to, was it me and Samantha, or?
I forwarded it to you.
To
You,
me, and then I forwarded on to the director of Heritage Sylvania, and I think that's where this kind of got moved into the works. And the idea is that she's already on board, as is the organization, to be a part of this special day. I believe it's going to be tied in with Olander Park System, with Outdoor Sylvania, and Sylvania Arts as well, I believe. And this was the first step to get the funding to be able to host the event, but it's over a year away. So this is getting a head start on everything.
Well, we don't want to be left out. It's the right thing to do. I know that Samantha was in the mayor's office a couple of weeks ago. She brought this up when we discussed it, and of course, we want to participate.
and we're gonna have a picnic.
Be a part of the celebration.
All right, sounds great. All right, proposed resolution 15. Lindsay,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 15-2024 and read by title only. A resolution of the Council of the City of Sylvania, Ohio, supporting the Ohio Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial America 250 OH. I move for passage of resolution number 15-2024 as an emergency
Yep.
measure. Yeah.
Second.
been moved and seconded for passage of resolution number 15, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and resolution 15, 2024 is approved. And it is an easier name than semi-sesquicentennial that we had for 225. I just remember that term. All right. We're on board. Up to agenda item 11. This is approval of 2 vehicles to be offered for auction on Gov Deals. Joe, can you describe these 2 vehicles to us?
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Near and dear to Bill Sanford's heart, the 2005 Chevy Impala, our gray one.
I rode in that car to Chicago a couple of times shortly after 9/11. That's the famous car where Mr. Plock will tell you, I told him to drive it up on the sidewalk where we were going.
So our gray Impala is up 20 years into it. We are currently sharing a white Expedition that was a hand-me-down from the water department. We're all sharing well. We're playing good in the sandbox, so we can get rid of the Impala. The cruiser that's there, Chief Miller struggled for 11 months to get her new cruiser. We got it Friday. It's in the fleet. It's in service, so we can officially move the other one to Gov Deals as well. So
It's the old Chevy Impala, and it's also the police.
that's correct.
I can't tell you that Mr. Sanford chauffeured me in that car down to the TARTA meeting last Friday, and I approve of the new car. Even if it is a pass down.
Very, very good.
All right. Well, one's a police vehicle, other is administrative vehicle, so Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to authorize the administration to place the 2 vehicles, the 2018 Ford Explorer and the 2005 Chevy Impala, from Mr. Shaw's memo to the mayor and city council dated November 18th, 2024 on Gov Deals for their website for bidding purposes, and to authorize the sale of those through that website.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the listing of these 2 vehicles on Gov Deals for sale. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We used to make the sale of vehicles part of the purchase of the new vehicles, but we seem to do better going on the Gov Deals route right now. We are now up to agenda item 12. This is a plan commission referral. Before we do that one, let me bring you up to date on the other one that you referred to the plan commission about the small homes. That one was tabled at the plan commission meeting by the applicant. He was out of town and not available for the meeting, so we had a brief discussion at the Plan Commission about it. I told the Plan Commission what City Council's concerns were, and my concerns were, but we took no action.
We got some new plans.
And we did get the floor plans for it. Yes, we did.
Thank you.
I don't think the site plan changed, but we got the actual floor plans for the units. And, you know, we'll let the Plan Commission make their recommendation before I speak. You won't see anything that until the Plan Commission meets in the second week of December.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're up to agenda item 12. This is another referral coming back from the Plan Commission that was considered at that meeting. These are to build those townhouse, this is right in Centennial Crossings, right behind the main commercial area, in some blank units there. I think we probably talked about them the last time. They are odd-looking units in that they are 3 stories. The first floor is a 2-car garage, 1 car in front of the other, with a possible extra room down there. And then you walk up 1 flight to get to the living room, dining room, kitchen, and then you walk up another floor to get to the bedroom. So it's, and they do not have a central elevator. They are for people that can traverse those stairs. But they look pretty nice. We saw plans and elevations of that, and the Plan Commission came back with a recommendation for approval, I believe. Yes. So we need to
Now we
set
need
a
a
public hearing.
Public hearing, right?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I move we schedule a public hearing on ZA number 2-2024 for January 6th, 2025 at 7:15.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set a public hearing for zoning application 2024 for Monday, January 6th, 2025 at 7 PM. Mr. Hayden?
I said 7:15.
Okay,
I don't, yeah, here,
that's fine, in this room.
in this room. We have council that night. Yeah.
All in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, and the clerk is ordered to make that public advertisement. All right, going on to page 2, the back side of our agenda. Are there any committee reports to be made at this time? Or agenda item 14, any committee referrals? Hearing none, we're going to added agenda item 15, which was a sister city update. I just wanted to give you a brief report that Councilman Fry and Hanson, and also Chief Miller and I drove to Woodstock along with other members of our Sylvania Sister City Commission for a very nice weekend. There were more extensive activities there earlier on Friday and Saturday earlier in the day. I arrived for the parade. The parade had the best weather I've ever had for a Santa Claus parade up there. I rode with Mayor Jerry Accioni, and his wife Sarah drove the truck with my wife Barbara also in the cab, and we had a wonderful time. But we also had a blow-up of Baby Yoda in the truck, which drew much more attention than Mayor Accioni. I think what happened is the kids would point it out, and then the parents would look and they'd say, "Oh, hi, Mayor." So I think it worked out very well. That is a real nice parade to see, and there's some real time pieces in that parade which attract your attention. I mean, it's a very long parade route, 1.5 miles down their main street, and the parade is longer than that itself. And the majority of it, they're back at night now, and the majority of it is big trucks with flatbeds behind it and people riding the trucks, and they're all lit up. And there were a couple of memories that I made with it. One was at the parade staging area. The group that plays the pipes was warming up next to where I was, and I've never had that feeling of being next to the pipes as they rehearse and tune their instruments and get ready for the parade. That's just a new one for me. We never had that around here. And then the other one was after Jerry and I got back to the parade observation point. I waved to the other members here. I think you were up on the third floor. I couldn't
Yep.
see through the windows, but you were up there.
We were waving back, Mayor.
Okay.
I assure you.
When I got back, there was a flatbed truck that came back with their local Salvation Army of their band, all dressed up in uniform, playing Hark the Herald Angels. And I thought I was in a Wonderful Life movie right there. It was just quite a moving scene to see that go by. We don't have anything like that around here. I mean, the ladies had their bonnets on. It was just a real timepiece. I like that. We took a quick look at the city hall in Woodstock. I met their administrator who goes back, he remembers Mayor Gagan and even the mayor before that, and we talked about all the different mayors that he's worked for. And I also shared with him that on a tour that I took there probably 15 years ago, Bill, I walked past his office and met him, and his title is city administrator. And that's where we decided you would be our city administrator and economic development director.
Never heard that.
So there's a lot of value in our sister city relationship, and I'm glad that it's back on solid ground. David Walker is adding new interest and energy to it as our committee members up. It's nice to see it roll over to new people. They had down here when we were in Sylvania, we had a Sylvania Woodstock trivia contest. Up there they had an Ohio-Ontario trivia contest. And both sides did not know some of the answers. One was land mass. What's bigger, Ohio or Ontario in land mass? That seems pretty straightforward. It's Ontario, but how many Ohios would fit in Ontario?
4.
3 or 4.
10. 10. It's amazing. Well, it's because it goes way up above the Arctic Circle, all the way up around Hudson Bay. What were some of the other items? It was population, even though population, their land mass is so much bigger, their population is a little bigger than Ohio, but not that much more. What is the chief
Toronto's a
government?
big city.
What's the chief executive governor, or chief executive officer of Ontario's title? Not governor. I did know that one, and I got into their prize fund for that. I didn't win anything on it. It was a drawing, but it's premier, and it's Doug Ford, and I learned that during the pandemic because his brother was the mayor of Toronto and got into all kinds of trouble with drug-related problems during the pandemic, and they had to throw him out of office. But the premier of Ontario survived. So we had a good time up there. And Chief, you brought back a whole bunch of jelly, wine jelly.
I was in charge of the jelly coming across the
That
border.
was the craft that was done. So anything, any of the three of you would like to talk about?
I think you said it well. I mean, a very, very nice event, a very nice turnout at the dinner. I mean, I was there last year as well, and this year was much more attended than last year. So I agree with you. Just the partnership is in good ground.
It is. Mayor Accione is very much in favor of this. He works for it, as does his wife. I appreciate, again, I'll say it publicly, you went up there and represented me last year when I couldn't go due to a health problem, and everything is just fine and on track, so it's good. Mark?
I agree wholeheartedly. It was a wonderful day and enjoyed it very much.
Chief, you interacted with law enforcement up there.
Yes, I spent 2 hours Friday morning with the department up there and got the full tour and got a chance to talk to multiple officers. And
We're
also
all out
extended,
Saturday night. They also have an auxiliary. There are a lot of people standing around with auxiliary vests on, I saw.
they have a large auxiliary and cadet program up there to entice people into the field. So I did talk to them and I offered them to come down and visit us for our Fall Fest. So hopefully they'll
Their
take us out.
cadets also had special shirts on. I could identify their cadets both for fire and police. No. So. it's a good event to go up there and have a trusted relationship where you can talk about our problems and their problems and not worry about repercussions coming back into the community. You get an honest answer on it. So, thought it was great. All right, and then finally, we have as agenda item 16, an executive session to discuss a property issue, purchase or sale of property. And I need a motion to go into committee of the whole executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk needs to call the roll for this.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Hayman?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Stout?
Yeah, or yes.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Vote is 6-0, and we'll take a couple of minutes here. It's possible we will act on something when we come out of it, but it's not earth shattering what we're doing. Okay, council has left executive session, committee of the whole, and gone back into open session of council. I can report that only property issues were discussed, or this property purchase or sale were discussed in executive session. No action was taken in executive session, and there's no action to be taken at this time as a result of discussion in the executive session. There are just 3 items of information at the bottom of the agenda. The Plan Commission, the Board of Architectural Review minutes, and some more third quarter reports, second part of what you got 2 weeks ago. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until its next regularly scheduled meeting 2 weeks from tonight on Monday, December 2nd at 7:30 PM in these council chambers.